Today I'm protesting against the LTNs that our councils have put in our streets.
Are you local then?
I have lived there for 50 years, yes.
What's going to happen as a result of these LTNs? How's it going to affect you in your day-to-day life?
Well, it's already happened. They thought that they are going to reduce the pollution. They have actually increased the pollution by putting all the traffic on the main 4 arteries that join Oxford without side roads.
It's common sense really, isn't it?
Yeah, so instead of giving us clean air, it's actually polluting the city. They have also created longer journeys for local people to go to local places. It's a 3-4 times, in some places 10 times more time, taking to get to a place which is only 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
So they have actually not sort of done what they are saying. They haven't cleaned the air.
No.
They have polluted the air more.
Made it worse.
Yeah, and they had put the LTNs on a 6-month trial, and after the community rejected them, they have carried on. They have actually increased the number of obstructions on the connecting streets.
One of the most disadvantaged areas is Littlewall, right? And that's affected by one of the most major LTN blockers, which effectively cuts off a whole section of Oxfordshire to county centre, right? And quite why these pro-LTN groups are so hell-bent on blocking that area off, because it has no GP surgery, no dentist, no local amenities, and yet how does this 15-minute city or zones affect a disadvantaged area of Oxfordshire like that? And the other thing about the argument the pro-LTN lot use is about clean air for our children's lungs. But what about the traffic which you displace to other areas? What about those children's lungs? Now, our council has done numerous consultations, and each one has overwhelmingly been against all these measures. They ignore them, and we've even got one councillor called Duncan Enright has gone on record in the Oxford Mail saying, well, regardless of the consultations, they're happening anyway.
What do you think people are going to have to do if they bring this in? What do you think people are going to have to do if they bring this in?
They have brought it in.
They bring it in more and more, do you know what I mean?
Well, hopefully we don't have to do that, but we'll have to actually remove the obstructions. That's the only way. The streets are, made for, using it, driving it, walking it.
What do we pay
They are
road
closing
tax
them.
for? If we can't use the roads, we pay road tax for.
That's right.
Can I ask what you're doing here today, sir?
So I'm basically here to kind of meet other locals to kind of join together with them to fight these schemes.
Right. And do these schemes affect you personally?
Yeah. So one of my close friends lives on the other side of one of these barriers, and basically it's like, well, you can't go and see your friends anymore because there's a roadblock in between you. I mean, it's that straightforward. They're going to put. There's a road which is basically a link road between 2 neighbourhoods. It's the only way to get between 2 neighbourhoods, and they're putting a barrier on it, and it's going to operate all day.
So they're literally just segregating ghettos.
So basically, they're chopping the city into 6 segments because they say it's only 6 roads that they're shutting off, right, on the next phase. They're the only ways to get across the city because there's loads of parks and rivers. They are literally the only ways to get around the city. So if you live up there and you want to go to the shops, like the main shopping centre, there's going to be a roadblock between you. If I want to get to the other side of town, roadblock. So they're not putting these traffic restrictions in the posh part of town. They're putting it in Cowley, and Cowley is famous for being home of the Mini. So they're putting the traffic restrictions next to the Mini car factory.
Oxford's economy is entirely built on that car industry. Yeah. At some point, I think near enough every family had somebody that worked for Leyland and Austin and all. Yeah.
So massive part of the economy is
you ask
Thousands of people.
You ask any locals that have lived here most of their lives, they've had a relative or somebody in their family worked at the car plant, so we're dependent on that income. And yet our Oxford Council now is waging war on cars, motors. I mean, forget that our economy was dependent on that.
It's called a cycling city, but it's actually a cycling and car city, and they just forget about the car bit. Where I live in a post-war suburb where it's designed for the car.
Yeah, of course.
And they put them in the suburbs that were designed for the car.
all cut off from everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's disgraceful, and this is just the start. So they're putting a whole bunch more stuff in afterwards.
So how long have you sort of been aware about all this sort of stuff, these plans?
So it kicked off for me about 3 years ago.
So you're okay.
So and so the reason it kicked off is that they were going to say this road between the two neighbourhoods, and I went, well, that road's empty and it's got a cycle track alongside it and it's got a footpath alongside it. Why are you closing that road? And they went, oh, because. And it's like, well, that's mad. You speak to anybody about the Marston Ferry Road, you know, and the road was built to link two parts of the city, and they're chopping it off. I mean, it's like, that is just the most maddest mad thing in the whole world.
It's proper retarded.
There wasn't any justification or coherent justification.
No, it was basically someone drawing lines on the map going, let's chop off that road.
They need to go back to the drawing board and get their crayons out.
We joke that they get their crayons out and you know, about road closures because it's that unscientific. They basically get their crayons out and wreck lives. Charlie Hicks.
What about the argument about climate change and trying to make the air cleaner?
Here's the irony. So one of the LTN areas is now about to breach legal limits for the first time. So it used to be below the legal limit and now it's gone sky high since the LTNs went in. And they know that and they made it permanent anyway. So they don't really give a monkey's.
So what brings you here today, ladies?
Well, we live in Oxford,
yes,
and we are very affected by all the traffic problems in Oxford. The LTNs are just a complete nightmare. They're all over East Oxford, which is where we live.
Right.
They cut off a major road into Oxford. Every single road between these two roads, Iffley Road and Cowley Road, has been cut off by bollards. But there's one road through it, and guess where Diane lives?
Where I live, all the traffic has to come down that road.
Right.
So obviously my health has suffered because of the extra pollution, the noise, the disruption, everything. Because cars are queued up on there because it's at a standstill. Because
it's the only way through from one part of Oxford to another part.
So your health's actually suffering as a result of it, and the whole idea is to make it cleaner.
Yeah,
and it's not making it cleaner at all. So how the Green Party can say that this is good, and why they support it, I will never know.
Because if you live in a low traffic neighbourhood, okay, it's very nice for you, but then other people live in a high traffic neighbourhood and they get more traffic, so it doesn't work. And you have to make massive detours to get to where you go. I'm a hairdresser, mobile, and I have to make a lot of detours to get to my customers.
So you're polluting more?
I'm using more petrol, more pollution, more climate change. And it takes me longer to get through. And I'm not the only one, there's loads of people like me. You know, the carers, I mean, you've got delivery vehicles, you've got so many people that are propped up on these roads.
Sorry to interrupt, but how do you feel, because you mentioned it, how do you actually feel about the climate change now? How did you feel about it before this?
Well, I've always been, I don't worry about it. I mean, I do realise that the climate is changing, but this does not help.
Thing.
I sort of think it's a bit of both, really, to be honest. I mean, I know that the climate is changing, but I don't worry personally about it. It makes me just my age. But I don't think this does any good because it just creates more traffic and more pollution. So it just does not work.
The thing is, you don't use your car for, unless you can, if you can walk to where you want to go, you walk.
Yeah,
you don't,
of course.
Yeah. But they want us to get on bikes. I'm 77, I can't get on a bike.